You're on.
Good afternoon, everyone, and a Happy New Year. Today, City Council meeting is Monday, January 6th. I also want to wish the state of New Mexico a happy birthday. I'm Mayor Enriquez, and before we start, I want to mention that we have the American Sign Language over here in the front, available to anyone that needs it. We'll start, if you please stand, with a moment of silence for the men and women of our service and police and fire and all our city employees. If you please join us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start out with a proclamation for youth mentoring that will be administered by Mayor Pro Tem Bencomo.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Happy New Year. Happy 2025. Today's proclamation for Youth Mentoring Month is presented to April Christensen, Zed Zerna, Cassandra Gandara, Big Brothers Big Sisters, and the Boys and Girls Club. But anyone who is here, please go ahead and come up. Yeah, we'll have everybody. Hi. You can stand up here if you want. All right, I'll get reading it while you all make your way down. Sylvia, get down here. Whereas January is National Youth Mentoring Month, an annual campaign to raise awareness and celebrate the powerful impact of mentoring relationships, recruit new mentors, and encourage institutions to integrate quality mentoring into their policies, practices, and whereas the City of Las Cruces, New Mexico, recognizes the contributions of volunteer mentors in the following programs: Kids Can, Community Action Agency of Southern New Mexico, the Boys and Girls Club of Las Cruces, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Mountain Region, La Vida Project, AmeriCorps, FYI Plus, Greatest Factor LLC, and Cruces Creatives, who link youth to economic and social opportunity while also strengthening our community. And whereas mentoring generally have a significant positive impact on youth academic achievement, school connectedness and engagement, and educational success, which can lead to outcomes such as improved attendance, academic achievement, and classroom behavior. And whereas mentors can help young people set career goals and help connect mentees to industry professionals to train for and find a job, and whereas effective mentoring of underserved and vulnerable populations of young people helps them confront challenges and enjoy improved mental health and social emotional well-being, and whereas young people with a mentor are more likely to enroll in college, to participate in sport or extracurricular activities, to hold a leadership position in a club or sports team, and to volunteer regularly and less likely to start using drugs. And whereas mentoring is an innovative, evidence-based practice and uniquely is both a prevention and intervention strategy that can support young people of all demographics and backgrounds in all aspects of their lives. And whereas despite the benefits of mentoring, one young person of every 3 in growing up without a mentor, which means a third of youth of the United States are growing up without someone outside of the home to offer real life guidance and support. And whereas this mentoring gap demonstrates the need for collaboration among the private, public, and nonprofit sectors to increase resources for relationship-centric supports for youth in communities, schools, and workplaces. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and City Council of Las Cruces, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim January 2025 as Youth Mentoring Month. Congratulations and thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Cassandra Gandara, former Mayor Pro Tem and City Councilor for District 1. I'm so thrilled to be here today to celebrate Youth Mentoring Month, the whole month of January. We're thrilled to have such a huge representation of all the youth mentoring groups across the county here to support the Mentoring Month. I want to say a special thank you to Sarah Hips, our bachelor's level social work intern, who was instrumental in getting this proclamation together. We're thrilled to be here. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to the council for recognizing the vital role mentorings play in shaping the future of our community. Youth mentorship is more than just guidance. It's a lifeline for many young people. According to the recent Doña Ana County Community Survey, 25% of respondents, and those are parents, express a need for youth mentoring services, with a significant portion indicating difficulties in assessing these critical resources. This underscores the importance of ensuring every child has access to supportive, consistent role model in their lives. When young people have mentors, the outcomes are clear. Research consistently shows that mentored youth are more likely to excel academically, build self-confidence, and avoid risky behaviors. They are also 55% more likely to enroll in college and more likely to pursue meaningful careers. These statistics are more than numbers. They represent lives uplifted and futures transformed. Mentorship is particularly crucial in bridging the gaps faced by our underserved populations. For many, mentors provide not only academic and emotional support, but also guidance on overcoming systemic challenges. The support of a mentor can be difference between despair and hope, between struggle and success. This month, let us commit to ensuring no young person in Las Cruces has to face a life challenges alone. I encourage our community to invest in mentoring programs and to consider becoming mentors themselves. Together, we can create a brighter future, one relationship at a time. Thank you once again for your dedication to our youth and for supporting initiatives that foster resilience and growth in the next generation. Let us continue to work hand in hand to ensure every child has a mentor and every mentor knows their values. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Next is, we don't have any Jobs of the Week presentation today, so next is Pet of the Weeks. Carol?
Good afternoon and Happy New Year. I'm Carol Nilsson with the Animal Services Center of the Mesilla Valley. This week I should say going forward, we decided to do things a little bit different starting with the new year. So we wanted to give everyone just a reminder that anytime we promote our Pets of the Week, they are free for the week. And we actually have good news, both pets have already been adopted this week. So we're excited for the longer term pets. If you're interested in adopting an animal currently in a foster home, please contact the center beforehand to arrange a meet and greet, because sometimes we do promote animals in foster homes. And all long-term residents who have been at the center for 3+ months are available for adoption for just $25. So we always have that promotion going on. So Baby Gray was our cat of the week, was super affectionate, so not surprised that Baby Gray got adopted. And we also had Riley, who was our dog of the week. Had been in a foster home for a while, the foster was really great, nursing Riley back to health. Riley was a little quiet in the cuddle bug, so we're happy to see Riley adopted. We also want to highlight long-term residents, because sometimes our pets of the week get adopted quickly. Reminder, $25. So we have Dora, who has been in the shelter for going on a year now, so we would love to see her get out, because as you all know, the longer the animals stay in the shelter, oftentimes you'll start to see a behavior regression. And so we want to help her get into a home so that she can really thrive. Alice has been in our center for 215 days. Dottie has been in our center for 213 days, and Mabel 211. So all of these are really great options. We'd love to see them get out quickly, because again, the longer they stay, it's not usually the best outcome for them. So, and this week we have our off-site adoption event. It's actually going to be at Tractor Supply Co. this week. So if you're in need of those supplies, also stop by and see our adoptable animals. We'll be there from 10 to 1 on Saturday. And as always, you can find us on social media, or you can visit our website for more information, ascmv.org. Lots of animals to look at, so head on over there. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Next is a conflict of interest. Does any member of the City Council, City Manager, or any member of the city staff have any known conflict of interest with any item on the agenda?
None, Grant. None.
None, Matisse.
Next is public participation, and we have Katrina up here that will help get you to the podium. Everyone will have 3 minutes on no pending litigation or discussions of items on the non-consent. Today we do have an item 7.1, which is a resolution number 25-078 to cure and ratify the decision on the city manager, and we're going to remove that one from the agenda, and it will be scheduled for January 13th. On January 13th, anyone that wants to speak to that item can, but since we're going to remove it, it's not going to be an item on the agenda. If you'd like to speak to that today, you're welcome to do that as well. So, you can come forward.
I'm Lynn Moore. I salute Algernon Damasa and the Las Cruces Bulletin for pursuing openness and full compliance with New Mexico's Open Meetings Act regarding the city's process in selecting a new city manager in 2024. I also salute New Mexico's Attorney General's office in pursuing Mr. Damasa's complaint, its thorough investigation, its clarity in explaining the city's violations of the Open Meetings Act, and the lucidity of its directions to the city as to how to cure its violations. Through my experience as a journalist and attorney, attorney, I find the city's Open Meetings Act violations remarkably dishonorable, given the facts of this case. You have made it appear that the previous city manager privately greased the skids for his protege to slide into his position. Using a rolling quorum to reach a private consensus to accept only internal applications for the city manager position, a position of significant responsibility and the only one appointed by the city council, is particularly unacceptable in light of the 2003 lawsuit ruling against the council, putting all on notice that rolling quorums are illegal. The New Mexico Open Meetings Act is not a complex law. Virtually anyone elected to a public body who reads it through can understand it. It's hard to conceive that you didn't know what you were doing was illegal, especially in the wake of the 2003 lawsuit. In any event, ignorance of the law is no excuse. What you're attempting to do, whenever you look at it, I guess, at a time in the future, is what you're attempting to do to cure your violations still doesn't comply with option 1 identified by the AG. First, your resolution attempts to skate over your violations. It says the city council appears to have engaged in a presumed rolling quorum. In reality, the AG definitively found on page 4 of its letter that you did indeed initiate a rolling quorum, which is unlawful. The first step in curing your violations is to admit your wrongdoing. Second, the AG explains that if you're not going to start the process over, the cure requires summarizing all discussions and comments made outside of a public meeting about the actions you took behind closed doors. This resolution doesn't begin to summarize all the discussions and comments by councilors. It just says the governing body wanted to consider internal candidates only because there are qualified applicants for the position in-house, and internal hire represents a cost-saving measure and will help to prevent institutional disruption. Regardless whether these are plausible reasons, this is an inadequate summary of all discussions and comments by councilors over a whole series of private conversations and during at least 2 closed meetings. I recommend that the city start the entire process over for identifying candidates for the city manager position and conduct all deliberations and votes in lawful public meetings. This is option number 2, identified by the AG. This will go a considerable way in demonstrating openness and regaining the public's trust once you admit your wrongdoing, and it will be a first step in repairing the disrepute you have brought to the city of Las Cruces. Thank you.
Mayor, City Council, my name is Liz Rodriguez-Johnson, and I'm a resident of Oneida County. President Jimmy Carter, whose life we honor this week, said during his presidential farewell address in 1981, and I quote, "Thoughtful criticism and close scrutiny of all government officials by the press and the public are an important part of our democratic society," unquote. I appreciate the close scrutiny the Las Cruces Bulletin paid to the process used to select, with no public discussion, a new city manager. I also appreciate the thorough investigation the Attorney General's office undertook to ferret out the city's violations and then to give clear direction as to how to cure those violations. I'm here today to offer some thoughtful criticism. It's very troubling to see that the Las Cruces City Council has ignored the AG's options. Despite the AG's clear findings regarding the city's violations, the city does not acknowledge that any violations occurred. According to the AG, the city of Las Cruces clearly engaged in a rolling quorum. That is a violation. Nor is the city following the AG's instructions as to what is necessary to cure the violations. You have not summarized all the discussions and comments made outside of a public meeting, which is in violation of the act. You haven't even told us who the other candidates for city manager were, or why you decided to select the one you did. The way the city handled the selection process makes the public wonder, and perhaps even unfairly, but nonetheless, makes them wonder what's wrong with the candidates you selected. If you were actually confident that the choice is outstanding, you wouldn't be working so hard to keep all the imaginations and decision-making under wraps. Why did you select this person, and why weren't you willing to do it in public? The fact that even today the city of Las Cruces is unwilling to acknowledge the series of violations and is unwilling to come clean about what actually happened, and then fully disclose the comments and discussions among all parties, tells us very clearly that the city is not planning to actually comply with the Open Meetings Act. Unfortunately, either now or in the future. If the AG were to issue a ruling that impacted any of your constituents, I'm sure that the City Council would not advocate that they ignore it. By the same token, I'm sure your constituents would want and expect the city to respect and adhere to an AG ruling. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Donna Stryker. On February 11th, 2024, Jonah Hernandez was murdered while responding to a trespass call from a repeat offender. Armando Silva had mental illness and a history of criminal convictions, breaking and entering, assault upon a police officer, and other charges. This weekend, Marty Ruiz Garcia's brother was beaten by Shane Jones, also mentally ill and a repeat offender, breaking and entering, assault on a police officer, and more. Catch and release, weak competency, hearing requirements, lack of support from our local and state legislators, lack of response from our counselors and other elected officials, and even state legislators who stood right here and ranted and raved about my police department and my chief of police. Does someone else have to die? Is that what has to happen in my city? This weekend, Businesses for a Safer Las Cruces saw literally hundreds of posts on our Facebook page in response to the attack on Marty's brother. She appealed to a Facebook page for help. That's very sad. Very sad. That's who she reached out to in my city, is Businesses for a Safer Las Cruces' Facebook page. Because of the attack on her brother, in broad daylight, in front of her brother's 14-year-old grandson, bleeding on the brain, still in the hospital. Shane Jones is homeless, he's mentally ill, and he has more rights than I do, and Marty's brother did. Not acceptable. Evidently, more rights than any other law-abiding citizen in this city. It's an outrage. It's frustrating. It's a feeling of helplessness and the feeling that our elected officials don't care or care more for repeat offenders. And looking to 2025 as counselors, I'm asking you to elevate, that's your word, elevate Las Cruces to a new level of lawfulness. Try that. Look to realize, again, your word, a city with serious issues that you have the ability to look at. You have the ability, you have the power to look at, the opportunity to be problem solvers. But instead, we have mayhem, which exists on our streets, in front of our businesses, in front of our youth and our children. In fact, this weekend, my grandchildren were at Savers, because that's where we shop, because we're not rich. My grandchildren got to see a naked man smoking meth, coke. I don't know what he was smoking because I don't understand that stuff, but that's what my grandkids got to see this weekend when we were trying to get them shoes. My grandchildren, seriously, needed to be exposed to that. Nothing is happening. If you do not elevate this city and you do not make some tough decisions on whom is more important to you, the voters or the criminals. You have never seen me speak like this to you before in the year that I've been coming. I'm mad, I'm upset, and I am absolutely aghast. Does someone have to die before these changes are made? And Las Cruces decides to take back its city from criminals and elevate us out of this situation. Realize this, counselors, it won't stop or slow down until you make decisions on this dais to help our city.
Good afternoon, councilors, mayor. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Thank you for being here. I wanted to start the year off by saying thank you for your support for Chief Story and the police department for the approved increase in budget over the past 3 years. And I'm basing this on articles from Las Cruces Sun News and the Bulletin. I want to thank you because that included, maybe over the 3 years, it wasn't clear in the article, 18 new officers and new vehicles. So when people talk about defunding the police or not supporting Chief Story, I've yet to sit here, and I am here on a regular basis at City Council, and not see support for what the police are asking for, including the Real-Time Crime Center. All the votes aren't unanimous, but they come out in support of what Chief Story and the police are wanting to do about crime in our city. There was approval and a marathon 6.5-hour meeting for the ordinances on shopping carts and soliciting. And it came out in support for what Chief Story was promoting as a way to address the issue, a possible means of addressing the issue. So I do thank you for your support, and I hope you hang in there. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Lavon Hart, and I'm the director of the Spay and Neuter Action Program, SNAP. We want to express our sincere thank you to the city of Las Cruces for entering into a contract with us to provide free spay, neuter, rabies vaccination, and microchipping for the dogs and cats of low-income city residents. We announced the program on December 31st and have already seen a big jump in the number of city residents contacting our office. Thank you for making this available to us. The SNAP Board of Directors discussed the animal ordinance and mandatory spay and neuter at our board meeting on December 17, 2024, and the following represents our position. We support mandatory spay and neuter as a step toward reducing the number of unwanted dogs and cats. We recognize that the cost of spay and neuter surgeries can be a burden for people with pets. Therefore, we call for ongoing support for programs that assist low-income residents with low and no-cost spay-neuter services. We recognize that there is a shortage of veterinarians within Donna Ana County, and that mandatory spay-neuter may increase the burden for existing veterinarians that provide these surgeries. We recognize that increasing the number of companion dogs and cats that are spayed and neutered will not fully address the issue of overpopulation of dogs and cats. In addition to mandatory spay-neuter for companion animals, funding and programs to provide spay-neuter surgeries for community animals are needed. We support efforts to educate the community on the need to have their dogs and cats spayed or neutered, and the programs and resources available to assist them in having their animals fixed. We support gradual implementation of the ordinance so that the community can be made aware and the impacts of the ordinance can be measured and monitored, and the program can be adjusted as needed to meet the needs of the community. Thank you again for your support for the animals in our community. We sincerely appreciate it. If anyone's interested, I have copies of our last newsletter and of the flyer that goes out all the time through our animal control officers and other places, informing the public of the services that SNAP provides. Thank you.
Hello, City Council. I am Susan Greenwald, the Executive Director of Downtown Las Cruces Partnership. I would like to thank you all for your continued support of DLCP and our events, such as Chili Drop that happened on the 31st. Our mayor was there with us to ring in the new year. We had a great crowd. We had a great evening. It was such a wonderful community experience. Through your support, we're able to do that event for the community for free. It's one of the few places that you can take your family on New Year's and have a really great celebration. So again, thank you for that. Thank you for supporting our program in general, our events, Zombie Walk, Chili Drop, everything that we do to revitalize and promote downtown. You guys have been a big part of that. So again, I'd like to thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Hope to see you again next year.
Mayor, Council, Juan Garcia. A bad day and trusting government. On 23 November, a business on Tell Shore was vandalized. From the police report provided by the owner, and I quote, as I, police officer, approached Mr. Klima, he stated he usually breaks windows when he's upset. He stated officers usually give him a ticket and let him go. I read Mr. Klima his Miranda warning, which he acknowledged, after which he admitted to breaking the front door glass as well. In addition, he admitted to breaking a window at 900 Tell Shore. And now let this sink in. A vagrant destroys thousands of dollars of local businesses' property because he had a bad day. Okay? That's it. That's the entire justification for vandalizing small businesses, his mood. A family saved for years to build their dream business. They pour their savings, their hopes, their future into those walls. Then one morning they arrived to find it all shattered. Windows broken, inventory destroyed, their dreams lying in pieces on the floor. When they seek help from their elected officials, their voice shakes with hurt, not hostility. Who wouldn't tremble when speaking about watching their lives work crumble? Yet somehow among our officials, the victim's pain gets labeled as anger, their desperation as aggression. They should be glad they don't live in Albuquerque. We hear from one of our senior senators, state senators. It's a story that echoes through our community, told in the voices of countless business owners who have learned the deepest wounds come not from the initial loss, but from the having their suffering dismissed. This criminal vandal, like hundreds, wreaks havoc on our community and still walks free. We will support our council, our state legislature, and we will join the governor in addressing this and other issues. On the subject of trust for public officials, KTSM, and I quote, the New Mexico Justice Department said the city of Las Cruces violated the state's open meetings laws during its hiring. This situation should not reflect poorly on Mr. O'Connor, who in my opinion, genuinely seems to prioritize the community's well-being. The real concern lies with the elected officials. If they knowingly broke the law, they should be held accountable, every single one of them. Two important questions arise. Was the process fair to the other candidates for city manager? And what other actions might the council be taking behind closed doors that could be in violation of New Mexico laws? So do we trust our elected officials? Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council, Mayor. I'm not quite prepared. My name is Patty Hartman, and I'm a resident of Las Cruces. I thoroughly agree with Lynn Moore's comments, and so I won't even go in beyond that beyond saying the lack of admission of wrongdoing has bothered me for the whole time I've lived in Las Cruces. My concerns overall is the failure of Las Cruces to understand things deeply enough to see beyond themselves and their own interests. The failure to recognize the big picture and the relationships to others in that big picture, which in this case is our community. Like others, the AG spells out the spirit and intent of the open meetings law, meaning public process, which is the essence of the democratic process that speaks to our country's values. I want to use a quote that often comes to mind: a little bit of knowledge is dangerous. Drink deep or not at all. This speaks to the dangers of ignorance, of knowing just enough to be dangerous by believing you know more than you do and that you have nothing to learn. I beg the community, including city and council, to have some humility about what you do not understand deeply and your need to be interested in learning, which I don't see much of here. While I respect Chief Story's sincerity in responding to the community's concerns, there is a lack of understanding that is truly important and missing from the overwhelming support from both council and community for his opinions. There is no data presented, and in the recent initiative, there is a misuse of terms like impact on safety. What you do, period, and in this case, in arresting people, is not an indication of impact on safety. That's a loose association and an assumption that is not credible. I'm going to end this by congratulating my city councilor for her bravery on the issue of the city manager. She was brand new at that time and was the only one to vote no on the confirmation of our city manager's hiring, and especially his salary, which is completely out of line with the rest of New Mexico. Thank you, and thank you, Counselor. My counselor is Cassie McClure.
Howdy, my name's Lonnie Montgomery, and I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I'm a mayor, council persons. I'm here to speak on the real life Las Cruces that I got the information from Jorge Aguirre. And the first thing he said was, the nuclear family does not exist. I wonder what abuelito, tío, etc. would think about that. They don't only exist. And that's one of the reasons he says we should not have single family neighborhoods. They promote car traffic, crime, they're boring, they're overpriced.
Mr. Montgomery, could you speak directly into the microphone a little
Yes,
bit
sir.
louder? Thank
Can you start me over? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so it's boring. The house I've been in for many years, he says we gotta have artistic. Well, the house I worked at for 47 years as an educator, it's beautiful. It's single housing. And for many generations, the Montgomery family has lived in single houses, from the ranches of West Texas and the farms and ranches in West Texas. But I don't know what all this concerns. I may think you may go back to the 15-minute thing where you bring in businesses and things like that. But we're not Europe. We live in wide open spaces, and they do take up some room. But as we're going through here, we're also getting affordable housing. And affordable housing, he says that the single things are cookie cutter. Affordable housing isn't. And you're going to have to drive. He says we meander around the neighborhood. No, I don't meander. I know where I'm going. I'm going to Sam's. I'm going someplace else. I know how to get there. And I don't think cutting down on the traffic is going to cut down on the accidents here. I think we can cut down on the dispensaries and cut down on the speeders who hit and run, that we can cut down on that. So I think we should continue. And he says, the friendliest people you know, we're from Las Cruces, but if you move into a neighborhood, you lose that friendliness. We're not friends anymore. No, yeah, we are friends. I have room to speak. I have a walking trail, and I talk to people walking that all the time. And we do speak to each other. It's a very friendly neighborhood. It's down at the Renos off of Stern. But I want to say that we need to continue with the senior family housing. It won't take care of the CO2. And what's wrong with CO2? Trees breathe that. It increases the vegetation in there and gives us more oxygen. So I say just build the affordable housing, but don't tell me it's not cookie cutter. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Stuart David. I'm here in part to apologize for not doing my homework. As I mentioned before, I'm a new resident. When I attended the work session about the proposed animal ordinance and I heard all the controversy and discussion regarding the spay-neuter requirements, I thought they were all new. As I now read it, the proposed ordinance changes very little. They're very little when it comes to spaying and neutering. Section 7-44 of the current ordinance require that a person reclaiming a dog or cat 6 months of age or older either provide a proof of sterilization or a letter from a veterinarian saying that sterilization would be an unnecessary risk for the animal. If not, they're required to leave a sterilization deposit and agree to have the animal sterilized within 30 days or purchase an intact permit, animal permit. That is not mandatory spay-neuter, and the exceptions remain in the proposed new ordinance. Also, it's my understanding, again, I'm new here, that the spaying and neutering provisions of the current ordinance are not being enforced, which seems to mean that Las Cruces is now not in compliance with both city and state law. Now, as far as the proposed ordinance, also, there are a lot of misconceptions about it, and the biggest one, besides spay-neutering being mandatory, which it is not, there are exceptions. It's also that somehow animal control officers will be enforcing the spay and neuter requirements in the field, and that's simply not the case. So that's just a misconception. Now, at the work session, you asked Mr. Douglas if there was a public education plan, and he hilariously responded that there was a concept of a plan. That was one of the funniest lines I've heard at a meeting, and we needed the levity. I have no doubt, though, that if it is passed, the new changes will quickly spread via Nextdoor, Facebook, other social media platforms, as well as local media stories. But along with that, I'd like to point out that it would be great if the city would take a very active role. Some avenues I would suggest would be perhaps adding inserts to utility bills, providing the new provisions, and maybe send email announcements to everyone who receives an electronic utility bill or is signed up for various city alerts. It would seem like it would be pretty easy for us to get the word out pretty quickly, and maybe we wouldn't need a real long period of time to implement it. Again, really what I wanted to do was apologize because I thought this was something new, and it's on the books already. It's really pretty much the same thing with just a little more clarity and actually with a little more room for people. And it's great to hear that there's money available for people that need it. That's an important piece of the puzzle. I'm glad to hear that's in place. So I ask that you put these proposed ordinance on the agenda for a first read at the next meeting. Thank you very much.
My name is Fred Huff. First of all, I'd like to really thank the City Council for what they did last year in passing the grocery card ordinance, as was previously mentioned this morning, or this afternoon. Is it a cure-all? No. But has it made a big difference? It sure has, in my opinion. I don't see that litter all over the city anymore, and I've seen a real big change. Thank you so much for stepping up and passing that ordinance. And also thank you for removing item 7.1 from the agenda today. I was real concerned about how what I read in the agenda was going to meet the state law, and I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, and I didn't see how it was going to do it, so maybe on the 13th you can. What a great opportunity this is for you. You've had almost a year, 3/4 of a year to see how Mr. Icani does as city manager. As a private citizen, I've seen spending like a drunken sailor and just raiding the Tail Shore Fund and doing all these other things, and it might give you a chance to take a second thought and say, is this the type of city manager we really want? I don't know, it's your choice. You know, that's one of the prerogatives that you all have. But thank you for pushing it off till the 13th, and hopefully you will do it in such a way that it meets the AG's desires and requirements. And again, thank you.
Good afternoon, City Council. My name is Lucas Herndon. I'm a resident in District 2. I just wanted to report back. I just had a wonderful vacation over the holidays, as many of us are privileged to get to do. And I went to the great, foreboding, terrifying city of San Francisco, California. I've heard a lot in this room and on social media in this town of people comparing what's happening in Las Cruces to what's happening in San Francisco. I grew up getting to visit family in the Bay Area. Been going to San Francisco almost once a year or so for most of my life. And I'm not really sure what people are scared of. I had a really wonderful time walking around city parks, using public facilities, eating at really nice bakeries and restaurants, interacting with folks of all different cultural backgrounds and ethnic backgrounds, participating in their local economy. It was easy to get around. They have really nice sidewalks, public transportation. Were there folks that looked like they might have been unhoused? Yep, for sure were. But just like here, they're just people. They're just human beings. They're just looking for a place to stay warm at night, a place to lay their head down, a little help dealing with whatever they're dealing with in life. And so I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that things are fine in San Francisco, California. And things are fine here. I mean, we have problems. I understand that. I'm not saying we don't have problems. I had a bicycle stolen off my front porch in the last couple of months. I didn't lock it up. I could have locked it up. I hope that whoever took that bike needs it more than I do. I'm in a position that if I really need to or want to, I can get another bike. All of this to be said, I'm not sure what vision some folks have for Las Cruces, but what I hear espoused is often exclusionary rather than inclusionary. And the Las Cruces that I grew up in, much like the San Francisco that I loved going to visit and still do, is the same thing. It's a place that people share space, and we have good food, and you have good conversations, and people are just nice to each other. And That hasn't changed, and I'm not sure what people think is so dire here that they have to come and complain about it every week. Thanks.
Happy New Year, Council and staff. My name is George Pearson, and I'm Vice President of Velo Cruces, the local bicycle pedestrian advocacy group. On today's consent agenda is acceptance of the Safe Streets for All grant. I want to thank city staff for the successful grant application and council for accepting the grant and providing matching funds. The grant is to update the active transportation plan and to implement demonstration projects to improve safety for active transportation. The update to the active transportation plan is sure to focus on the safe systems approach and look at engineering solutions to safety problems. We need to leverage this Safe Streets for All grant with other Vision Zero ideas that have been discussed. A Vision Zero work session for City Council has been promised. Let's look at all modes of transportation as the update to the active transportation plan is being worked on. For example, speed is known as a threat to traffic safety. What about reducing the default local road speed limit from 30 miles an hour to 25 miles an hour? Speed safety cameras have been talked about. What about requiring intelligent speed assistance in government vehicles? Doesn't it make sense to have government employees driving government vehicles not exceed the government set speed limit? I'm looking forward to the next step in implementing the Safe Streets for All grant to help reduce the approximately 40,000 vehicle deaths nationally and to help New Mexico get out of the #1 spot for per capita pedestrian fatalities. Traffic safety is everyone's responsibility, but what can I do, you might ask yourself. How about simply driving no faster than the speed limit and make an effort to go no faster than 20 miles an hour when you are in your own neighborhood? Thank you.
My name's Jim Hurst. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I have a couple of things I want to say today. One, it's come to my attention that there was a National Day of Prayer proclamation last year. It was voted on by email and did not pass. I would like to know what the proclamation said and who voted for and against it, and I hope I can get this information without filing a Freedom of Information request. So if any of you can help me, I would appreciate that. I'm not surprised to hear that this commission has been cited by the DA. This council has been cited by the DA for breaching the Open Meetings Act. Witnessing how you've handled the issue of separation of church and state, I'm not surprised. You guys don't care about what the Constitution says, so why should you care about what state law says? If you can get away with it, you do it. Take the Constitution seriously. Take separation of church and state seriously. Don't call public religious services private meetings. That's dishonest. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. My name is Dolores Lucero. Mr. Mayor, City Councilors, all but one of you at this dais have been through plenty of closed meetings, and the Open Meetings Act is basic politics 101. You learn that the day you walk into office, even if you're the attorney or city manager. I haven't been here in months because when 2024 began, I thought 2024 would have been a more productive council, a council that had not only has their own projects and concerns, but a council that listens and interacts even with those citizens who don't hold the same viewpoints. I see I myself see a counselor weekly at an event that we participate in who chooses to not even make eye contact, much less offer a simple good morning, of which I do each time. There is absolutely no concern to the citizens as a whole group of many ideas and thoughts that maybe are different from yours. But an Attorney General review of how you acted to fill the manager position shows your lack of your connection to the staff that should be guiding you. In a written response to the press, City Attorney Brad Douglas did not indicate which option the city would choose. Quote, "We will take immediate action to remedy the deficiencies the Attorney General identified. We will take this as a learning opportunity and make improvements in the future." Learning opportunity? Are you kidding me? The Open Meetings Act needs a learning opportunity. You took office to not hide behind closed doors and make decisions. Remind yourself to listen to staff, as staff can lead counselors through activities such as this. I used to have a great city manager that said, "That's not the way we're going to do that. We need to rethink this." As staff can lead counselors through activity such as this, listen to what they have to say, especially wait. We need to do this in a different way to keep everyone on track with the public. Well, that didn't happen, and I'm going to guess there's probably more than one violation in this council. Well, my understanding, it was a prior manager that led you down this violation. Please hire attorneys that guide and protect you and the public from any misconceptions. With a dismissal of all other applicants that did not get their time to an interview or to the public to ask questions, and the opportunity for everyone to be upfront. Mr. Mayor, I'm almost done. Will there be a lawsuit because they were mistreated and denied a fair application? What is it going to cost the citizens to go through that process? As counselors, you are not to be hangout buddies. You are to be independent thinkers, looking out for all persons, not only those of your beliefs, but those of your district, but a city as a whole. Stop your texts, your emails among each other. Quit hanging out. Do your role and stop the rolling polls. But I'm thinking you won't do that.
Okay, next on the agenda is the acceptance of agenda, and I'll need a motion and a second to remove item 7.1, which will give staff an opportunity to work with the New Mexico Department of Justice team so that they can work out the issues and we can bring it back on January 13th. And then to also discuss 7.4 first, since we have outside counsel here.
Move to approve with changes.
Second, Graham. This is on the motion to accept the agenda as presented with removal of item 7.1 in its entirety and to listen to item 7.4 first. Councilor McClure?
Yes.
Councilor Matisse?
Yes.
Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Cran?
Yes.
Councilor Flores is absent. Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
And Mayor?
Yes. So we'll start with item 7.4, Council Bill number 25-018, ordinance number 3089, an ordinance authorizing the issuance and sale of the City of Las Cruces taxable municipal gross receipt tax, a revenue bond. And Erica?
Move to approve, Graham.
Second, Corin.
Okay, now Erica.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council members. Erica Hawkes, Treasurer. The ordinance before you is to authorize the issuance and the sale of up to 21 million taxable municipal gross receipts tax bonds. The bonds are expected to be issued at a negotiated public sale with an underwriter. The pledge revenue for these bonds is the second and third 1/4% of the municipal gross receipts taxes. The ordinance authorizes the city manager and the financial service director to approve within the following parameters. The value cannot exceed $21 million. The interest rate cannot be above 10%, and the maturity date no later than June 1st, 2046. The bond proceeds will be used to pay the settlement agreement between the City of Las Cruces and the estate of Teresa Gomez. Before you are the standard council options, and I stand for any questions.
Any council questions? Seeing none. Any members of the public wishing to speak? You have 2 minutes.
Mayor, I'm sorry, I do have some statements I'd
Okay,
like to make,
go.
but I can wait if you'd like. It's up to you.
No, go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry, I was a little slow on clicking my button. I just wrote down some things because I felt like it was an important piece of resolution that I could not say anything on. So I do have a couple things to say. First of all, to the family of Teresa Gomez, I want to offer my sincerest condolences and genuine apology. I will never forget her name, and I will continue to say her name. According to the Mapping Police Violence site, a data collection site about the lives lost to police violence, New Mexico has one of the highest rates of police killings in the country relative to our population. And in recent years, a few of those killings have occurred in Las Cruces. At the July town hall with the governor, there were some statements made that felt particularly concerning, like police shootings are statistically uncommon and that the goal is not to eliminate, rather reduce police killings. This is not the spirit in which we should be having these conversations. Perhaps the spirit should be like how we talk about crime in general. We talk about the devastation crime is having on our community through a policy lens by trying to address the things like bail reform, criminal competency, juvenile wellness, and even shopping carts. We should cultivate that same spirit when we talk about police violence, because not doing so is costing us more than dollars, is costing us lives in more than one way. The ripples of this case are wide. The life of Teresa Gomez tragically ended. Her children and loved ones are forever impacted. Ex-Officer Hernandez made a choice that will impact his life and the life of his children and loved ones also forever. The ripples are wide. I will continue to be at the table with possible solutions that work and that aren't just political fodder. I don't believe a citizen oversight will serve to yield better outcomes we desire, just like I don't believe a costly training facility will either. What I know will work are at least these two strategies, at least. Reducing police interactions, especially with vulnerable populations, while investing in more infrastructure to support those vulnerable populations, and better support our police officers experiencing PTSD, depression, burnout, and/or compassion fatigue. And it's not until we cultivate the spirit and fight, it's not until we cultivate this spirit and fight off any narrative that immediately says, I'm anti-police for speaking about the realities of police violence, that will continue to get us to a more just way of policing. If a $20 million settlement doesn't shake us out of this place, I'm not sure what will. I will keep this conversation alive with our city manager, our chief, advocates, and directly impacted folks. I hope you all join me in good faith. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, members of the public.
Thanks. Again, Lucas Herndon, resident District 2. I spoke a few weeks ago about police violence in this city and in this state. And I think that there's such a conflict here between the tragedy and loss of life as a result of state-sanctioned violence, and now this extremely policy wonk response of how we collectively as a city, all of us who are citizens represented by you all there, are having to face those consequences. And the burden of further taxing citizens and issuing these bonds is so ironic, given the general sense of people who come here and support the cops and say a lot of negative things online about the city, which is to say the quote-unquote small business community who complain about the GRT and all the time. And I just am just blown away at the continued ask on behalf of some of the public, a very loud vocal minority, for more funding for the police, when here we are having to raise GRT taxes and issue bonds to pay for a fatal mistake of the police. I just want people to think about that. I just want them all to think about that.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to speak on this. This has been like my main concern for the whole 8 years that I have lived here and first brought it to the City
Ma'am,
Council.
for the record, could you state your name again?
I'm sorry, I'm Patty Hartman, a resident. Yeah, I've been bringing this to City Council since, 2017, I think. This is a huge concern, and even when I read in the details of calling it Project 2025, which I'm not sure I understand, is this borrowing money to pay off the settlement for a Las Cruces police officer who killed this woman? And it seems obvious to me that the solution is accountability, which none of you or no one in the community seems to find important. I think accountability measures that are meaningful and that are enforced and that no one is above the law would totally satisfy me. But I've never seen justice here. I've seen people speak about citizen oversight who have nothing to do with the issue, who have never been affected by it, while I've not been able to speak about it. I've got data on our local situation here that no one wants to look at. And I think it's important that I said before, we need to get educated about this and really pinpoint the problems and hold people accountable. The democratic process doesn't give people unlimited power. And I'm just appalled at, like, we're borrowing money to, rather than holding people accountable so that we can improve. I don't feel safe in this city with police. I've had mental health issues and had them used wrongly against me. So consider the people who are impacted. Thank you.
My name is Andrew Bencomo. So first let me say, being a police officer is a tough job. I would not want to do that job. Having worked in public safety somewhat myself, I hear what Chief Story is saying, and I like what he's saying. Whether that carries forward and changes things, I hope it does. But one of the things I would like to say is you can have a training facility, you can have training programs, you can do all kinds of things like that. But unless you change the culture of an organization, it doesn't matter. You can train all day long, and if the culture stays the same, it makes no difference at all. So I hope the culture changes. Two things that can help with that is a city manager that is engaged with the police chief to make sure that they are held accountable. My personal opinion, I don't believe the last police chief was held accountable to make things change. They continued as they were. I believe Chief Story is trying to make those changes in what he's saying, but we'll have to see what happens. But I think that cultural shift is really the big piece that really needs to happen with that, because nothing will change if you don't change the culture of an organization. Again, super tough job. I would never want to do it. You got to deal with somebody angry at you all the time, somebody happy to see you all the time, but culture is the big deal. So thank you very much.
Dolores Lucero. I'm going to the other side of this. A life is valuable to all of us, right? We never want to lose a loved one in any circumstance. But the business side of this, all of you, I believe, sat in some closed meeting to discuss the negotiations of this settlement. And in that closed meeting, I'm going to guess, because I've been there and done that, this started out a lot higher. And I'm going to tell you again, you're probably hiring the wrong, you had probably hired outside attorneys to handle this settlement. I think you're hiring the wrong people. My life, your life, they're all valuable. Can I put a price on it? Absolutely not. But I'm going to tell you, whatever you're negotiating in that closed room is not working in your. We sat in negotiations. We never went to the highest dollar. And if you did in this condition, you have put the citizens paying for it on top of the tax that this interest payment that comes with borrowing $21 million. I'm embarrassed for you.
Anything else from council? Singh?
This is on the motion to approve Ordinance 3089. Councilor McClure?
Yes.
Councilor Matisse?
Yes.
Councilor Graham?
Yes.
Councilor Cran?
Yes.
Councilor Flores is absent. Councilor Bencomo?
Yes.
And Mayor?
Yes. Next is item 7.2, public hearing required. Let's read this. The public hearing is now open at 2:12 p.m. Is there anyone for or against the issuance of this liquor license? Yeah. Public hearing is now closed at 2:12 p.m. Need a motion and a second to hear.
Move to approve, Graham. Second, Corin.
Go ahead, Adam.
Thank you, sir. Adam Ochoa, Community Development for the record. What we have before you is a liquor license for the, what is called Cruces Total Golf, located at 170 West Picacho Avenue. This application is actually a transfer of location of dispenser liquor license number DIS 011021 with on-premise consumption allowances. The alcoholic beverage control did send preliminary approval to the city for this application. Staff have to reach out to ABC and request for an extension due to the meeting happening a few days ahead of when the 45 days were up, so we did get that extension approved. This went out for review for all reviewing parties, and no reviewing party had any issues with the application. Shown here where the actual location is at. You might seem familiar. It's just northwest of us there in the shopping center, 170 West Picacho, right on the corner of Main Street and Picacho Avenue. So your options today is one, to vote yes and approve the proposed liquor license, or two, to deny the liquor license. The ABC is notified, will be notified of the vote, and it will continue the application process afterwards. That is the conclusion of my presentation. I stand for questions.
Thank you, Adam. Any questions by council? Okay, Christine?
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 25-079. Counselor McClure?
Yes.
Counselor Matisse?
Yes.
Counselor Graham?
Yes.
Counselor Cran?
Yes.
Counselor Flores is absent. Counselor Benhomo?
Yes.
And Mayor.
Yes. Next is item 7.3, Resolution 25080, resolution amending the 2025 through 30 Capital Improvements Program.
Move to approve. Second, Graham.
All right, Cynthia.
Good afternoon. I can't see anything. Okay. Good afternoon, Mayor and councilors. Cynthia Campo, CIP analyst, and today I bring a resolution for the CIP amendments. Within these amendments, we have three types of CIP amendments. We have budget to actuals, addition of a new project, and a name and department change. This is actually a new slide, and I wanted to show a summary of the change within the categories in the CIP. So you can see that there's the previous balance, the change, and then the new balance by category. Using the same format, you can see the changes for each of the projects with these amendments. And the next 5 slides are going to be budget to actual amendments following a mid-year CIP reconciliation. So please let me know if you have any questions on any of these. And then lastly, we have the addition of the quality of life bookmobile to the CIP, and then Villamora Dam Park was named Villamora Dam Park Study, and now we've taken the study off because the project is going to begin. So that's the name change, and then it's also gone from Public Works to Parks and Rec. That's the department change. And I stand for questions.
Any questions from council? Okay. Members of the public, if you have a question or wish to speak. Yeah, come on up, state your name, and you have 2 minutes.
Hey, Steve Markham. I noticed on the changes that there was a decision to slash a significant amount of money from public transit. Why was that decision made, and how was that money reallocated? That's all.
That amendment is actually a budgets to actual amendment, so it is not slashing any funds. It is just bringing the budget to what it currently is. Does that answer the question?
You need to come forward so we can get your question on the record.
Sorry, I just noticed it briefly when it was there. Yeah, so Municipal Service Center Transit, $1.6 million negative change.
It is just a budget to actuals amendment, so it is not removing budget. It is just adjusting the initial budget to match what is in the current budget, and not the CIP project budget.
And George, you had a question?
George Pearson. If I could hear an explanation of the changes for the active transportation and the Las Cruces lateral RTP project.
I will defer the RTP lateral, Las Cruces lateral project to Catherine.
Good afternoon, City Council, Mayor. This is Catherine Harrison Rogers for the record. The RTP lateral project, we've asked for reallocation of those funds. We have yet to hear from the New Mexico Department of Transportation whether or not those are finally approved. And so until we actually get that final approval, we're removing it. But once we do get final approval, you'll see it back on the CIP.
Dolores Lucero, I hit the trifecta today. I'm waiting to hear. The assistant city manager and I have spoken. I've spoken with 7 staff people out of Public Works. Took 1.5 years to get a traffic study at Telshore and Loman. I'm waiting to see when that project is going to get onto the CIP. I told Mr. Borrego, but when we met, that once it makes it on the CIP, I will help you go find the $2 million that it takes to build it. And trust me, I can do that. But I want you to consider that it's time to complete that road. It needs to be on the CIP before any funding can be allocated towards it. And I've been waiting now 10 years. I'm waiting 10 more years, I probably did. But in that case, I'm asking you to look at this now, and when you start to do your budgeting, and please look at Telshore, Loman to Roadrunner Lane, to complete the road, finish the additional lanes, and complete the landscaping that was promised 20 years ago. Thank you.
I'm Lynn Moorer. Just following on the theme of compliance with the Open Meetings Act, this PowerPoint presentation, as you could say, it looks like there's at least 6 pages to it. This, you said it was brand new, okay? This was a part of the agenda that was posted online. This should have been there too. You see, you sprung it on the public. We do not have an opportunity to ask questions that are based upon really any analysis at all because you have failed to provide this. So that goes along, should go along with all the other meeting materials. And that is part of your compliance with adequately noticing a meeting and providing the agenda. And I would say you have failed with respect to suddenly springing all these CIP amendments, which are obviously important upon us. So that's a non-compliance with the Open Meetings Act.
Any questions?
You know, with that said, and I agree, there might be a motion to entertain for this to be tabled to a later date, specific date. This.
I think that it does behoove us to have a conversation about how we communicate about how to read the CIP and what's included in it, but I do read the entire agenda packet, which included each of these in detail outlined within the CIP. So for us, admittedly, it's something that we read all the time, and we're accustomed to seeing what it looks like, a change from budget to actuals in terms of what the CIP offers. And I don't disagree that we could communicate more clearly about that in a summary form. But these weren't surprises to me at having read the packet. So I think I would just speak to the idea of either having a future time where we talk about how to understand the CIP process and/or documents, but this is something that we've done many times. So I am not supporting a motion to table.
I'm sorry, so do we have a motion to table? You motion to table?
Yeah, I thought I was clear about that, yes.
Okay, so and do we have a second? If you table, you have to put a date specific to it.
2 weeks?
Is there a second? It fails. Go ahead, Christine.
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 25-080. Counselor McClure?
Yes.
Counselor Matisse?
No.
Counselor Graham?
Yes.
Counselor Cran?
Yes.
Counselor Flores is absent. Counselor Bencomo?
Yes.
And Mayor.
Yes.
Motion passes.
No, sir, we already had the moment for public participation.
I understand that, but I understand that. But we, the people, and everybody asked, the problem is this stuff came out on Friday night. It's 15 pages. It came out.
Sir, this is not the time.
Okay, but the city council asked you guys to do something, and we are asking you guys, and you guys are refusing. So that's the problem we keep having here at city council, is we are not being heard.
I'm sorry you feel that way.
No, it's not how I feel. It's the truth of what's happening, Eric.
Next is the board appointments. We have a motion and a second is needed. Joe Deering, new appointment to the Capital Improvement Advisory Committee.
Move to approve. Graham?
Second, Corin.
This is on the motion to appoint Joe Deering to the Capital Improvement Advisory Committee. Counselor McClure?
Yes.
Counselor Matisse?
Yes.
Counselor Graham?
Yes.
Counselor Cran?
Yes.
Counselor Flores is absent. Counselor Bencomo?
Yes.
And Mayor.
Yes. Next is City Council member board reports and comments. Councilor McClure?
No, thank you.
Councilor Matisse?
A few things, some positive, some negative. I think I just want to share with the city clerk. I think that's why I kept asking when I took this job again in January. Maybe I'm not the fastest reader in town, but I was asking for the presentations, and even earlier, I know you forgot. That's okay. It's very important that I get those so that I have information to be able to vote. So I would appreciate that if you could continue that in the future. On a positive note, I don't know if everybody got a copy of this access, but I just want to comment on the quality of life and pray what this affidavit, this document booklet, it's fantastic. There's so many things that youth can do, adults. In the city of Las Cruces, you probably work a lot of hours, your staff, putting this together and putting all the programs together. So I like to see if you can get some great attendance. So that's the reason I bring it up. Excellent job. Well done. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Graham?
Thank you. Just going to take a personal moment again, not to remind people of our humanity, but I want to extend my really sincere gratitude to everyone on the city staff, folks from the public, for condolences on the death of my dad last month. It's really hard to know what to say in moments like that. And I understand that as someone who has often found myself without words. But no matter what you say or how awkward it may feel, it is very appreciated. And I also have been thinking a lot about connections in the community. In the time since my dad passed, a fully cooked ham showed up on my parents' doorstep with a card from a neighbor who we didn't even know that he was friends with, because he had a complex web of his own world, and these are little bright points that I'm getting to find out now, unfortunately, that he's gone. But I suppose that, again, I'm all in my feelings. These connections are vital. I remain committed to being one of those connections in our community. And just again, my sincere thanks to everyone up here, because you have all been tremendously helpful. Thank you.
Councilor Craig? Nothing. Mayor Pro Tem?
Nothing, Mayor, thank you.
Okay, well, again, I just want to say to the downtown partnership and the city of Las Cruces, thank you for the chili drop. It was a great event. There was a lot of community that came together. There was over 5,000 people. It was a great event. Thank you, police and everyone else that partook in that. And just want to say that we'll continue to move forward. On January 13th, we'll have the meeting to ratify the issues that have been addressed. And I will tell you personally, I own it, and I will move forward with it for the greater good of this community. Now I'll turn it over to J.C. Borrego as the city manager comments.
Good afternoon, Council, Mayor Pro Tem, members of the public. My name is J.C. Borrego. I'm one of the assistant city managers. I do have a couple announcements. Parks and Rec Departments Keep Las Cruces Beautiful program will host a neighborhood dumpster day from 8 a.m. to noon on Saturday, January 11th. The open container locations are at the East Mesa Rec Center at 5589 Porter Drive, Young Park at 850 South Walnut Street, and the intersection of Motel Boulevard and Westway Avenue, 674 North Motel Boulevard. I want to give a shout out to our utilities department on a job well done over the weekend. There were a couple of water line breaks that were remedied quickly, so thanks to Adrian and her team for taking care of those quickly. Public Works, we've got some road improvements happening beginning here in January. The first one is part of the East Mesa Roads and Drainage. The Cortez Drive improvements, that'll begin January 6th and go till November 7th, 2025. The pavement replacement program is kicking off January 6th as well. There are 10 streets that'll be impacted. And then we have the Madrid Avenue extension between Evelyn Street to Travis Drive. That will begin on January 21st, 2025. The Las Cruces Police Department is currently accepting applications for their upcoming Citizens Academy that begins February 18th. Applications can be found online and are due by January 17th. More information can be found on the LCPD Facebook page. From our quality of life team, this year's Mitten Trees was very successful, with the community generously donating items to share with local organizations. This year the community donated 10 tote bags, size bags of adult knitwear, including gloves, hats, and scarves. 4 additional bags of adults' coats, and 1 medium bag of scarves. And then also there was 4 bags, size bags of kids outwear as well, sorry. There's a lot here. January 1st, 2025 kicks off the 90th anniversary of the Thomas Brannigan Memorial Library. We are celebrating all year with a variety of events to commemorate this anniversary. We are distributing special library cards all year long. And then as far as museums is concerned, the Moonlight at the Museums event held on December 20th drew almost 200 visitors. It was a great event. And finally, we do have a bit of sad news. One of our senior programs cooks passed away on December 26th, so we just want to give our sincere condolences to Jennifer Regalado and her family and her young children. So our condolences out to her, her family members, and her co-workers. And that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you, J.C. Motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second, Graham. This is on the motion to adjourn the meeting. Counselor McClure?
Yes.
Counselor Matisse?
Yes.
Counselor Graham?
Yes.
Counselor Cran?
Yes.
Counselor Flores is absent. Counselor Bencomo?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.